Fingerprint scanners are becoming a popular addition to smartphones today. However, generally you only find them in flagship devices, but not anymore. My name's Gary Sims from Android Authority, and today we're going to be looking at the Elephone P3000. Okay, before we look at the phone, let's deal with the elephant in the room. Yes, the name, Elephone. It could stand for elegant phone, I suppose, but if you look at the company's logo, they were definitely thinking about pachyderms. And that's all I've got to say on the subject. Moving on to the design and build, the first thing that struck me about this device was its weight. It only weighs 149 grams, which is quite light. When I first picked it up, I actually had to check if it had a battery in it or not. In terms of design language, the theme here is bold black and silver. The body is black plastic all the way around, peppered with silver for the buttons and the logos. The only other colour is the red edge of the camera section for the flash and fingerprint reader. On the front is the 5-inch 720p display with a set of silver capacitive buttons on the bottom and a silver earpiece towards the top. There is also the front-facing camera and a 4G logo. I definitely have mixed feelings about the prominence of this logo. I guess it's there for those who want to brag about having a 4G LTE phone. However, I think the logo could have been placed on the back of the phone or discarded altogether. Down the right-hand side is the power button, while on the left is the volume rocker. Both are easily accessible when held in your left hand. On the top you'll find the micro USB port and the 3.5mm headphone jack. Flipping the phone over, you'll see the prominent Elephone logo and a slightly protruding circle for the camera flash and fingerprint reader. The back cover is made of a matte plastic, almost rubber type material that does a very good job of repelling fingerprints. Although the phone is light, it's also quite thick. According to my measurements, the phone is over 10mm thick. This isn't overly bad, but it does give the phone a slightly dated look. The 5-inch display on the P3000 is quite good considering the price point of this device. The IPS display comes from JDI and has a resolution of 1280 by 720. That works out at 293 dpi. Overall, the colour reproduction is good and the definition is great, as are the viewing angles. Some people like full HD displays for 5-inch devices, however for a budget device, 720p is more than adequate. At the heart of the P3000 is the MediaTek MT6582. It's a quad-core Cortex-A7 processor which is coupled with a Mali 400 GPU. These are common specs for low and mid-range devices coming out of China. The A7 is one of ARM's most power-efficient core designs, however it won't break any performance records. The same can be said for the Mali 400 GPU. Before looking at any specific benchmark numbers, my experience of using the P3000 is that the processor package is more than capable of running the UI without any lags or delays. Also, everything but the most intensive 3D gaming works without any problems. The same can be said for watching locally stored video or for video streamed from YouTube. Moving on to the benchmarks, this device managed to score 17,782 on Antutu and had a score of 48.4 frames per second on Epic Citadel while running in high quality mode. The phone comes with a 3150 mAh battery, which is very impressive for a device with only a quad-core A7 processor and a 720p display, and my testing confirms that the battery life is quite good. Epic Citadel will run for 3 hours on one charge, while Riptide will run for nearly 5. You'll get more than 5.5 hours of YouTube and 8 hours of watching locally stored video. During my testing I managed to get nearly 2 days of on battery time with a screen on time of over 3 hours. The phone has a single speaker on the back, and from the outside it doesn't look like it will offer much. Here is a sample so you can judge for yourself.
Dance with me, make me sway, like a lazy ocean hugs the shore, hold me close, swim me more.
The P3000 is a dual SIM phone that offers quad-band GSM, which means the 2G will work just about anywhere in the world, and quad-band 3G and quad-band 4G LTE. The 3G and 4G frequencies will work in lots of countries around the world, especially in Europe and Asia. The device comes with 8GB of onboard storage and has a micro SD card slot which can accept cards up to 64GB. The flash memory on the P3000 is divided into two. The first part is called internal storage and is 2GB in size. The second part is called phone storage. Apps are installed into the 2GB portion and the rest is used for your media. If you install a big game like Modern Combat, the app itself is installed onto the 2GB partition, but all the data, which is well over 1GB in this case, is installed onto the larger partition. What this means is that the 2GB partition will become a limiting factor if you install lots of apps, but it shouldn't stop you from installing big apps. One of the selling points of this phone is the inclusion of a fingerprint reader. The reader is located on the back of the device just below the camera lens. The idea is that you can swipe your finger across the sensor while holding the phone in just one hand. To use the fingerprint reader, you need to register your fingerprint by swiping your finger several times over the sensor. You're also required to set up an alternative password as a way to bypass the fingerprint reader. Once the fingerprint has been recorded, it can be used to unlock the phone. There is also a finger app lock feature and a way to use the fingerprint reader as a kind of scroll wheel to scroll up and down on web pages. The finger app lock lets you protect certain apps and only grants access when you unlock it via the fingerprint reader. Unfortunately, the fingerprint reader is quite hard to use. Registering a fingerprint took loads of swipes of my finger, and the process often reset with an error about too many failed attempts to register. The same is also true of using the reader once a fingerprint has been recorded. It would often take several swipes to unlock the phone. If I couldn't manage it after several attempts, I was forced to use the alternative password. All of this became very annoying very quickly, and I guess if I was using this phone as my daily driver, I wouldn't use the fingerprint reader. The phone has a 13 megapixel rear facing camera and a 5 megapixel front facing camera. The pictures are good considering the price point of this device. In low light the colours can be a bit washed out, but outdoors the pictures are quite nice. The included camera app offers a few interesting features including HDR and panorama. In the settings you can change things like the exposure level, the scene, the white balance, face detection and so on. Overall it's a fairly comprehensive app, but without any advanced modes or filters. If you'd like to see more sample shots, then you should check out the written review on Android Authority's website. You'll find the link in the description below. The P3000 runs stock Android 4.4 and uses a lightly skinned launcher with its own icons for standard apps like settings, camera, clock and so on. Interestingly, the device is rooted by default and comes with Chainfire's Super SU app pre-installed. As well as the section for the fingerprint reader, the settings also has a section for controlling the notification LED. By default, the LED will flash blue for missed calls, red for new messages and green for other notifications. Everything else is stock Android. You can pick up an Elephone P3000 for less than $150, which when you consider the overall package is a great price. And there it is. The P3000 is a $150 4G phone with a quad-core processor and a 720p display. The performance is good, the price is good, however don't expect too much from that fingerprint reader. My name's Gary Sims from Android Authority. You can follow me on Google+, and don't forget to subscribe to Android Authority's YouTube channel. And I'll see you in my next video.